Hello, I'm Citrifrog, and I'm here to explain to you Citricose's awful, awful date and the pain he felt. Let's start with the intro of how Citri ended up here. So the date was on Saturday. Citricose met this person by them asking him for his number while he was at work. Citricose appreciates people with audacity, appreciates straightforwardness, so he accepted their willingness to ask for the number and gave them his number. He also really wanted to watch the Laker game, so he just was in a rush to watch the Laker game, and that's why he gave the number right away. Later on, the person who asked for the number asked to see if they wanted to be on a date. Citricose accepted this offer to be on the date because, again, he appreciates audacity, he appreciates straightforwardness. So he does not know the person at all when they go on a date. He's spoken to them a bit, but nothing more than surface level. He knows she likes anime, and knows they made MMDs before, and that's about it. Nothing much more than that. And they like very surface level anime, so Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, very surface level stuff. So the possible outcomes we see for this date, how this date goes up. They're a really cool person, and Citricose ends up getting married. The dream. It's a bad date. It happens. They murder him. And what the reality of it was so bad, Citricose got traumatized. So let's start off with the date. So Citricose date starts off with going to the worst mall in his area, the mall that only teenagers who are in high school go to. So after going to the worst mall in his area, she brings him to a place that she used to work at, which is essentially Chuck E. Cheese for teenagers. But there's already a place that's similar to this called Dave & Buster's, which is Chuck E. Cheese for adults. But instead got taken to a worse place at a worse mall. And then when they get there, the kiosks to get inside only take card, and the date only has cash. So then he pays for it, which ended up costing about $60, which is $90 Australian or $80 Canadian. They did not eat there, which the place had food. It offers food, really awful food, really bad pizza, but it offers it. They end up going to a restaurant to eat food. When the time to pay the bill comes, the date ends up leaving. And Citricose now has to spend more money. So now we are at over $100 US, and I do not know the conversion for that in any other price, and I don't want to know, because now it's time for the red flags. Because if you thought like that was the bad date that traumatized him, you're so wrong. So Citricose is a weirdo. He is probably the weirdest of all his friends. His family constantly makes fun of him for being weird. He's just a weird dude. But he's very open-minded, and he's very accepting of others. So if Citricose thinks you're weird, you're on such a level of weird, you probably shouldn't be allowed to socialize, because that means you broke one of the few people who can pretty much talk and accept anyone. So let's get in with how they started that. So they're socially awkward. Like, to the nth degree, they are socially awkward. Uh, they essentially spoke at such a speed. They essentially started off the conversation saying they were nervous, and Citricos was very accepting and okay with it. So then when they would talk, they would do this thing where they would speed up their talking at the very end. So they'll start with a few words slower and slower, and then go faster, 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 until they hit Mach 2 speed of talking, and I could no longer get a word in or understand what they were saying. Until they started trauma dumping within the first hour. Told me about their ex-partners, talked about how they've never had their first kiss and how they've been engaged but also have never held hands. Was very strange, especially to hear from a 24-year-old. Use kick and roleplay their OCs a lot. So if anyone here has ever been on the internet long enough or has been in America and heard about Kick, you understand that Kick is a hell zone filled with people with horrible intentions and weirdos and creeps, and should not be used. But they were using it. Why were they using it? So they could roleplay their OC characters that they made. They also loved yaoi. Their OC characters were men, and they were together. And they did cry over anything that bad that happened to the OC characters. So we're there right now. That's where we're at. And you're like, all right, Citricos, that's pretty awful, but that's not like, that's just, whatever. How is that traumatizing? And let me tell you, let Citrifuck tell you where Citricos gets traumatized. So now we're no longer at red flags. We're at crimson red flags. There is no level. We don't know. We just see blood red. We're terrified at this point. We're in a sea of red. Citricos date now says is bisexual. But then they went on a rant about how kids shouldn't be introduced to LGBT stuff until after they hit puberty. And that's pretty weird. That's not a political stance Citri agrees with. But that's not, traumatizing. It's definitely a red flag. But how's it traumatizing? They have an older brother who's trans, and they're also bisexual. And they specifically said they watch cartoons and movies so they can make sure their younger siblings don't watch gay stuff. So we're in a wild zone right now. We do not know what to say at this point. We're flabbergasted. It also comes to our attention during their trauma dumping that they converted to Mormonism during the pandemic, which is a super strange thing for a bisexual person to convert to probably one of the least friendly gay religions, Mormonism. What's that about? So let's talk about the thing that broke Citri finally. So talked about being asexual, and how they broke up with their last boyfriend because he wanted stuff and she didn't. And we accept that, Like we said, Citricos is very understanding, very open. He understands that. So why is this in the red flag category? So back to the yaoi. She's a yaoi lover. You forgot about the yaoi. I forgot about the yaoi. I wish I could forget about the yaoi, actually. I do not forget about the yaoi. Let's talk about the yaoi. Proceeds to tell Citricos they don't want to do any sexual stuff, but it would be fine if their boyfriend made out or had sex with another man in front of them. Then later talked about when they made their last boyfriend they had flirt with her older brother. We were flabbergasted. We were jaw dropped. We were unbelievably uncomfortable. So Citri tries ending the date. Citri no longer wants to hear them talk and suggests to watch a movie. Suggests that they shouldn't be near each other anymore. Well, suggest they should be in an area where they both can not talk. Uh, Citri suggests a bunch of movies. Fast and Furious X, Super Mario Brothers movie. He'll watch that again. It's a cartoon movie. Citricos loves cartoon movies. Little Mermaid's out. He hasn't watched that yet. He'll watch that. Said date now refuses to. It does not like any of the suggestions that were made and picks out a horror movie. Citricos hates horror movies. Citri watches a horror movie because watching a horror movie is better than listening to them talk. Movie ends and Citri says, "Nice date, let's call it here." It was not a nice date. He was just trying to end it as quick as he could. They wait for an Uber because Citri ain't driving her home. While waiting for Uber, she continues to talk to Citri, and at this point, Citri has lost all patience and is now just scrolling through Twitter, ignoring her. Date ends. Finally, she texts him. He has still not replied back, and he probably will not. He does not want to invoke any more pain. So, the moral of the story is Citricos has been traumatized. Send help and a better date, please. God, if you exist, never let this happen to him again. Please, I swear, he doesn't deserve this. He's stupid, but he doesn't deserve this. Thank you for coming to this awful, awful Citri moment.